Okay, here we go with another video. This one is going to address a recent campaign that I participated in called No Wedding, No Womb. Now, as part of that campaign, there are about 100 or so bloggers that put articles on their websites that promoted the concept that marriage should take place before one has a child. I thought that was a great idea. I thought with 75% of African American children being raised in single parent homes, that pretty much everyone would be on board with that concept. Unfortunately, that was not the case. What we found were quite a few people, primarily women, surprisingly enough, that objected to the concept. They felt that we were singling out single mothers, being negative, condemning them, being critical, blah, 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 so and so. Now, we got, even on my blog, there were some responses that were shockingly, I don't even know what to say, just basically stupid. Because what you have here are some adult women taking an article that was directed towards teens and young women in their 20s and personalizing it towards themselves. No one was talking about you. That's the first issue that I had with it. They took it so personally and wrote these damn books about, explaining why they were different and why their children would be special and all this. No one is talking about you, and if it's working for you, that's fine. But what I have to say is this. That's fine that you think it's working, but I'm telling you, what's going to happen is when your children are older and they are involved in interpersonal relationships or they start dating, especially your daughters, that is where the lack of a father is going to come into play. You think that you're providing adequate emotional support and you're probably doing the best you can. I'm not saying that you're not. But if you intentionally had a baby out of wedlock, knowing that you did not have any kind of opportunity for that child to have a relationship with its father, what you have basically done is just been selfish and condemned your child to a bunch of emotional confusion. A lot of these children do very well academically and even professionally. It's in their personal and private lives, their intimate relationships, where the lack of a father demonstrates itself. My article focused on the games that men play with very young women. It was called Don't Fall for the Baby Mama Okie Doke. And I set out a lot of the games and crazy things guys will say and the tricks that they'll use to try to get females pregnant. And some of you may think that's kind of odd. As much as men complain about paying child support, why would someone intentionally want to get a girl pregnant? And I'll tell you. What usually happens is, how many times have we all, you start college and there are a whole group of girls with bright futures, a lot of promise, beautiful girls that end up not being able to finish the first year of school because they have to leave because they got pregnant. Please don't think that was an accident. There are a lot of guys that intentionally try to clip the wings of girls that are beautiful, that are going places, and that are going to be doing big things, especially if they come from a family of some financial influence or political influence. They figure, many of these guys have the mentality that they will always have a place to stay and they will always have some place to go, and they'll always have an opportunity with that woman by having a child with her. It keeps them bonded forever, they feel. So, I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at how many girls had to give up their opportunities for growth, for advancement, for achievement, for travel, for fun, for her dream to come true, to have a baby that she did not have to have. Now, some of that becomes from innocence. They go off to college. A lot of little girls are virgins. They don't know anything about anything. They come from very sheltered environments, and their parents just set them free on a campus to live by themselves. They've done them a great disservice. Other girls are so hungry for love. They grew up in single parent homes or with fathers that were emotionally distant, and they're so hungry for that male acknowledgement and for the attention and affection of a male that they will do pretty much anything to get it. And if they get it, they'll do anything to keep it. So a lot of people weren't really giving the proper consideration to this, saying, well, as women, we need to be more responsible for what we do, and it's not men's fault. These are girls I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your ancient ass, okay? Let's get past yourself. We're not talking about you. A father is very important in a girl's life. That man is the first man that is going to love her, and the first man that she's basically going to use her relationship with him as the benchmark for the other men that come into her life. If there is no man in her life, the standards for performance for a man are extremely low. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Now, a girl who has a very close relationship with a respectful, loving, and attentive father usually has extremely high self-esteem. Children that have fathers in the home do better in school. They're less likely to get in trouble with the law. They tend to have higher self-esteem and IQs. They feel safer. I mean, your father provides safety, a feeling of safety in the home or in your life, because even if he's not living there, if your parents are divorced or separated or whatever, just having that close relationship with your father changes a girl's life. It changes her perception of herself, and it changes her perception and standards for the men that come into her life. This also applies to girls who are, may have a close relationship with a stepfather or something like that. But I caution women, please be careful about thinking that you can do it all, because you can't. It's impossible. In spite of your best intentions, you will not be able to do everything by yourself. And when you consider the fact of how hard it was for you financially, struggling with daycare, struggling to, handle everything around the house by yourself, and I'm looking at these grown women saying things to these girls like, I had my baby, and sure, it was hard, but I wouldn't change anything about my life. I don't regret having my child for a second. I'm saying, who cares? The bottom line is, all that struggling you did is the only part that we need to hear about. Why you would want to subject some other young woman to that, saying with this so what attitude, and saying that if you could do it, she can do it too, is the wrong attitude to have. You, as an experienced single parent, should have got on board with this and said, yeah, baby, it's something that I did. I made it work for me, but it's something I could have been so much further along in life. I could have achieved so much more. I could have been a much more knowledgeable, richer, more financially stable person at a younger age than I am now, because I took the hard road. I don't want you to do that to yourself. Some women said, well, I'm against abortion. I think you should give it up for adoption if you become pregnant. No, you should not. You should get an abortion. If black children languish in the foster care system in the United States, if they're going in foster care, it's a 50-50 shot, probably a bit less, the odds probably aren't even that good, that they will get into a home where they are not mistreated and abused. Why would you have a child to throw it away and just give it to some people that are not going to take care of it and love it? So, this idea that you would have a black child and that it would be moved into a loving home is a drunken fantasy. As you can see, people that are adopting children prefer to go out to overseas and get a baby, even an African child, before they get one right here in the United States. So please don't get on board with that fantasy. That's a lie. They're lying to you. They're trying to make you have the same misery and suffering that they have with that typical crabs in a barrel mentality. Young women, do not listen to these women. These I don't know what's wrong with these women that was making all these statements. They're crazy. But if you listen to them, you'll be stuck in the same drama and the same sordid nonsense that they've gotten themselves into. One woman says, I made the choice to bring children in the world and I'll never regret it. My children are the best part of me. and some self-righteous individual filled with her own self-importance is not going to take away my joy. Who wants to take away your joy? What I'm telling you is that's fine if that works for you. What I'm telling you is, you're acting like you're 10 years old and throwing a tantrum and rebelling against mommy. Nobody cares what you did. What we're trying to do is use you as an example of what not to do. So it's fine that you found joy in it, but not everyone is. There are too many stories in the news of people, young women, of course they're young, so there's the father not in the picture. They're going to try to date somebody else. They don't intend to be by themselves the rest of their life. But you know what? Every time you open a newspaper, every time you go on a news website, here's another story of some mama's boyfriend who has raped, killed, or molested a child. So, that's not necessarily the smart move to make. You're getting around these men, you have young children, these guys are, you don't know nothing about these dudes. They could be criminals, they could be just molesters, you're just idiots. You don't know. And here you are putting your child at risk, a child that you didn't have to have. Okay, I keep going there. You did not have to have this baby at 17, at 19, at 22. You didn't have to do that to yourself. Basically, you are punishing yourself and saddling yourself with obligation and responsibility that you did not need to have. And you're listening to these women who want to pull you down into the same crab barrel that they're in. Do not listen to them. Others say, I'm tired of women using abortion as a birth control method, like they are so virtuous when their wombs are tombs. This is someone who's extremely jealous of someone who doesn't have children. There's no reason to make a statement like that. If you get accidentally pregnant, that's exactly what medically safe abortions are for, to terminate the unwanted pregnancy. Now, what she's talking about, whether she's tired of, who cares? Maybe people are tired of looking at her dragging around 4 or 5 kids too. But the bottom line is, you are entitled to live your life the way that you want to. I would really like you to consider the fact that you don't have to have a baby just because you accidentally get pregnant, and you certainly don't need to listen to a group of women that are not doing anything positive for young women. What we're looking for here is leadership. What we're looking for here is wisdom sharing. There should be no reason why women who have been in a negative situation that was emotionally and financially draining for them, extremely stressful, lonely, all of those things, would even remotely tell you that you should go down that same path unless they were being evil ass hating hoes. That's the bottom line. So, we're looking at this, and it just infuriates me that these adult women would tell some young girls this nonsense. Ladies, the whole point, what we used to have as a group, as a race, as a culture, was the idea that our young people should have more and should do better than us. Our parents and grandparents did everything they could to make sure that our lives were better, our lives were easier, that we had more and we had better than they did. That's not what I'm hearing from this group of women. What I'm hearing is they don't want you to have more than them. They don't want you to have a better life than they did. They don't want you to have more freedom, more money, better men, nothing. They want you to be in a sorry situation just like they are. Now, like I said, they may have made it work. But, making something work that was a mistake and choosing not to make the mistake are two completely different things. So I'm advocating that young women not listen to that nonsense. If you get pregnant, don't have a baby. Get an abortion. Better yet, use birth control and protect yourself from even getting pregnant. There's no reason for you to listen to a group of women that do not have your best interest at heart. They're trying to put you, by guilt tripping and comparing, into the same situation that they're in. Do not listen to them. My name is Deborah Cooper. I am the advice columnist on survivingdating.com, and I welcome your comments.